Hello and good morning or good afternoon, everyone. You are all here to get an informational overview about how to securely overcome the production and enterprise network connection challenge. So first of all, we want to shortly introduce ourselves and going to tell you what we are about to do in the upcoming 15 minutes. My name is Christian Obst, working for Siemens as partner and distribution manager in IT systems companies. System integrators, project consultants, or mixed parties of those are in a focus of my daily work. With me, there are two colleagues and they will introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Obst. My name is Isabel Staden and I'm working for Aruba in our channel pre-sales, and I am also responsible for the IT/OT topic and the partnership we have with Siemens.
And my name is Andreas Mure. I work for Siemens and I coordinate all sales related topics within the partnership between Siemens and Aruba.
Okay, perfect. So after you got the chance to know a little bit about us, we are going to start this session. So we prepared a typical case as a kind of role play to demonstrate issues in the area of IT and OT network connection and an approach to overcome the related challenges. But for doing so, we shortly have to change our outfits to assume our roles. Okay. So, good morning, Mr. Mura and Ms. Staden, and thank you for joining us to share your experience in connecting the IT and OT network environment in your company. I have heard that you had a deal with modernizing a production line some time ago. You recognized new challenges appearing in doing so. And Mr. Mura, a question for you. What kind of challenges were that and where did they come from?
Well, there was a clear statement from the management to reduce OPEX through the modernization of the production line. One important starting point, for example, was predictive maintenance.
Okay, well, this really sounds challenging. Who was given the task of implementing it and how was it handled in your company?
The task was handed to our OT team, of which I am the head of. One of the most important requirements was an external internet connection. So we took a standard household router and connected it. It was really quite simple to do. This allowed our devices to connect to the internet and we were able to establish a cloud connection. It was great, a quick and simple solution to our initial problem. And it all went quite well until there was a bad incident. Someone had gained access to our network from the outside through our self-installed router and was able to shut down our entire production.
Okay, this sounds really bad. So, how much damage was done and what was your first reaction?
The damage was huge. Production was at a shutdown for around 30 minutes. During this time, we were unable to produce anything at all. Do you have any idea how much it costs to have your entire production at a full stop? It was madness. So the first thing we did was to disconnect the router from the network, of course, and then we directly involved our internal IT to get the equipment up and running again as quickly as possible, and of course to clean the devices from any malware caused by the attack of the hacker. We needed to get the production up and running again and couldn't risk any further interruptions.
At this point, I would like to add a remark because it was highly irresponsible to openly connect the devices to the internet unsecured. We always must ensure cybersecurity when accessing the internet in order to protect against unauthorized access to our network. But unfortunately, we in the IT department were not involved, so no IT guidelines, especially regarding cybersecurity, were implemented.
Yeah, that's really an interesting point. So, I think, Mr. Mure, do you have any explanation why IT was not informed about the ongoing project work?
Yeah, well, we didn't consider IT participation because at the start it was an OT project, which has different priorities, different protocols, different standards than in a pure IT environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. But as we can see here on the screen, there's always a range of challenges with digitalization projects in the industrial environment. Can you please give us some more information about those mentioned points here?
Oh, sure, in OT, our priorities are concerned with maximum availability and fast problem resolutions. Our machines must be running continuously, and any maintenance must be performed expeditiously.
That's true, but when it comes to digitalization projects, there are more points that need to be addressed. Of course, the first thing is cybersecurity, meaning the protection against unauthorized access. Another thing is the protection of old controllers and operating systems. This is a special challenge because there are often no longer any security updates for them. Another challenge we see is device visibility. How can I get end-to-end visibilities of all users, devices, and applications in my OT network? But these are just a few of the challenges that need to be faced in digitalization projects.
Mm-hmm. Well, these are quite a few things that need to be considered. Ms. Staden, how do you think this would have had to be done correctly from your point of view, or generally spoken, from an IT perspective?
Mhm. I think it is important that all the relevant people come together right from the start. That means that when it comes to the topic of internet connection and cloud, IT must also be involved in the overall project teams. And the task and responsibilities in the project must then be clearly distributed and discussed in order to avoid incidents such as a production shutdown.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, what exactly had been changed in your project after both parties, IT and OT, of the company came together?
Well, we quickly realized that we would not be able to complete this project without external support because our internal resources were already overloaded. And to be honest, the topic itself was quite new to us. And that's why we were searching for external consulting expertise.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a really good plan. So this search you mentioned, was that successful? Did you find someone who can provide the required excellent support for helping you out?
Mm. Well, of course, we then wanted to have the best, and we chose the market leaders in the respective areas, namely Siemens and Aruba.
Mhm.
Their goal is to further improve the transition between OT and IT. They offer customized and validated system solutions, and so we were in deep discussions with their experts and developed an optimal solution for us.
Okay. Seems to have worked out as a fruitful collaboration, I think. So, but what does this solution look like in detail? Can you give us some explanations here?
Of course, we have chosen an approach that relies on logical separation of the segments via VLANs and a central firewall. In this way, we are also IEC 62443 compliant, meaning we follow the legal requirements. We used the most suitable hardware and software components from both partners for the various tasks in our production. This means, for example, that in the production environment, we use the specially designed switches from Siemens. But in the higher layer of the network, where immense amounts of data are already managed today, we use Aruba switches.
Mhm. And what about the security part? How do you prevent unauthorized devices from accessing the network?
Just as Mr. Mura said, a firewall secures the communication between the cells and also the OT-IT communication. And the VLANs are projected in the central Ethernet switches of all our underlying networks in order to be able to manage the communication relationships in a flexible way. And also, we have installed a network access control from Aruba to allow only authorized devices to access our network. And this allows us to detect and limit security threats.
Okay, that's great. Can you also point out some outstanding highlights of the collaboration for both of you? So as well, the OT and the IT perspective?
Yeah, well, through the partnership and excellent cooperation of all parties, we were able to migrate our production without interruption. We are now able to securely connect our systems to the internet without compromising security, safety, or availability on the OT side. The tested architecture guarantees network availability, and the Siemens industrial features ensure that a robust and secure environment. And of course, our management is happy that we reduced OPEX with our modernized production line.
Mhm. And also the experts from Aruba and Siemens showed us how important internal communication and consultation between IT and OT is, and how we can best approach digitalization projects in our production. We got a solution from them that exactly fits our production and our requirements. And finally, we can also ensure a secure connection to the internet without fear of attacks on our network.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Looks like everything worked out quite well after a complicated start at your project. And I think the overall working network environment with a symbiosis between the OT and the IT requirements seems to lead to a future alignment in designing industrial networks, isn't it? So, our interview time's up, but thank you very much, Mr. Mura and Ms. Staden, for giving us a comprehensive insight into your project here. But I do not want to release you from your duty as experts of the IT and the OT side too early, because we also received some interesting questions in advance having this chat, which I want to ask you. To give the first question, I think, for Andreas Mura. Who will be responsible for implementing the OT IT project?
Well, that is a good question. In general, there will always be a system integrator or a solution partner locally who will have capabilities for both sides and who is trained and certified to implement the entire project. So there's only one line of contact to this partner for you as a customer. Of course, these partners are certified by Siemens and Aruba in their fields, and they're being backed up by our experts.
Okay. And perhaps another question for Isabel Staden. IT and OT operations usually use different management tools. So the question is, how is this problem addressed within Aruba Siemens partnerships?
Yes, we have two options to choose. On the one hand is Cynic NMS from Siemens for the OT world, and on the other hand, it's Airwave from Aruba for the IT world. They have nearly the same basic functionalities, and it is possible to get a view from both worlds. This means you can manage Aruba hardware with Cynic NMS, and you can manage Siemens switches with Airwave. So it's both integrated.
Okay. And the third question would be, who is responsible for warranty issues in case of any technical difficulties?
I'll take this question.
Okay.
So as said before, as in the implementation of the project, the first point of contact is the solution provider who was responsible for implementing the solution in the first place. That will be the first point of contact. This partner will be local, so the response will be fast and connected to little effort. And backing the partner up, once again, is Siemens and Aruba experts in the background who are highly concerned with getting any sort of issues that may occur fixed as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you for answering the question. Last but not least, the last question for today. As a customer, how can I be sure that the products of both vendors will work together without any problems?
Let me answer this. It's also
Okay.
a good question because we run interoperability tests with Siemens and Aruba experts, and we have also a validated reference architecture. And we also plan to do more tests in the future to expand our solutions we have together. And I think the best example for that is our management options that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, perfect. So these are all questions from my side, which we prepared in advance before starting the session. Okay, I think this is all for now. So thank you also, Mr. Andreas Murer and Mrs. Isabel Staden, for sharing your experience and your expertise. So for everyone, have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.